Welcome back to Crit and Crit. I'm Axion.
I'm Scint.
We are continuing to make our way through EG and working on our discussion of Ender's Game. And I am
You're just going to have to risk it.
Getting the nonsense kicked out of me by these things.
Yep.
Okay, problem solved.
Alright, so last time we talked about the concept of children are innocent and how that can play out in society, as well as how it can easily be abused for anything but the child's benefit. So, oh, you're about to get some plot happening here. Yep.
I'm guessing that was that group of Tarzan that I was going to armor up before I,
Yeah, if you notice, like, the light on those doors was white, so you aren't able to get through it, it's plot locked.
Gotcha. I did not notice that. Oh. And there's no nano. I can't just pick up any nano. Oh, and creepy music. It's not the assassin dude's music, at least.
So that teleporter would be active in a pacifist run.
Interesting. So noted.
Yeah, I genuinely like the story you get from a pacifist run better, which is why I do it, but everybody plays it differently.
Yep,
and I think that diary you walked past is also it also changes quite a bit. Yep. Remember when I said you should have spared that Tazen?
Ugh.
That's her girlfriend dead right next to it. Yeah.
Now I feel bad.
That's what happens when you don't do a pacifist run in a game that has a morality system of sorts.
On the other hand, the Tarzan were the bad guys. Oh! Oh, it's another one of these giant things. Well,
I actually find that to be debatable, much like the situation we see in Ender's Game.
Oh no, I know story-wise. I was talking about in my playthrough.
Okay, that's fair. But yeah, that kind of segues into what we were going to talk about, which is the hegemony. The system of government that has been put in place as a result of the first invasion and how badly it took a toll on humanity. There are still different countries, more or less, but not many are outside of this new system. And there are a lot of pretty staunch restrictions put into place. For example, certain countries are noted as being non-compliant, and religion has been effectively renounced. We find this out in the conversation that Graf has with Ender to recruit him to battle school. So, also, again, as we've mentioned, Ender is a third child, which is unthinkable. No family has three. They got special permission for Ender because, well, Peter and Valentine hadn't worked out so well with the experiment, and they wanted to try again with this particular family for whatever reason. Just presumably the bloodline, so there's a lot to get into on that, but more or less, I think they look at nature more than nurture things. Yep. Anyway, your father was baptized with the name John Paul. I'm terrible with Polish names. Orson. Catholic, the seventh of 9 children. 9 children. That was unthinkable. Criminal. Yes, well, people do strange things for religion. You know the sanctions, Ender. They were not as harsh then, but still not easy. Only the first 2 children had a free education. Taxes steadily rose with each new child. Your father turned 16 and invoked the Non-Complying Families Act to separate himself from his family. He changed his name, renounced his religion, and vowed never to have more than the 2 allotted children. He meant it. All the shame and persecution he went through as a child, he vowed no child of his would go through it. Do you understand? He didn't want me. Well, no one wants a third anymore. You can't expect him to be glad. But your father and mother are a special case. They both renounced their religions. Your mother was a Mormon, but in fact their feelings are still ambiguous. So, there are still people who do not follow the hegemony, but there are, ouch, lots of social and economic pressures against people who don't follow the line. He goes on to say, they're ashamed of having come from non-compliant families. They conceal it, to the degree that your mother refuses to admit to anyone that she was born in Utah lest they suspect. Your father denies his Polish ancestry since Poland is still a non-compliant nation and under international sanction because of it. So you see, having a third, even under the government's direct instructions, undoes everything they've been trying to do. It's still more complicated than that. Your father still named you with legitimate saints' names. In fact, he baptized all three of you himself as soon as he got you home after you were born, and your mother objected. They quarreled over it each time, not because she didn't want you baptized, but because she didn't want you baptized Catholic. They haven't really given up their religion. They look at you and see you as a badge of pride because they were able to circumvent the law and have a third, but you're also a badge of cowardice because they dare not go further and practice the non-compliance they still feel is right. And you're a badge of public shame because at every step you interfere with their efforts at assimilation into normal, complying society. Again, Ender is 6 when he hears this. But even at 6, Ender is alert and aware enough to know that, yeah, I'm not normal.
That's
the
one
fact
way
that
to
I'm
put
here.
it.
Okay, I am not normal in societal sense. Like, it's not just the case of I'm smarter than the other children. It's my existence is an anomaly, and people hate me for it. And getting told that also sort of includes your parents is not an easy thing to hear, but when you have a societal change as harsh and as strict as the hegemony is, yeah, people are going to react very strongly to anything that stands out. If for no other reason than, well, I'm following the rules, so should everyone else. Get ready to duck. That's why the arrow was pointing down to stay safe. Kicker. Get your shotgun out too after a point. Yeah, once you have her stunned, you have to crack her.
I've been trying to, she wouldn't let me.
Once you have her stunned, so like right now. Take her crack now. Oh. I'm trying to remember how to do this, it's been a while.
Oh, wow, she's fast.
Yep.
She is just tearing through me. Anyway. One more hit.
Well, you gotta do the fight again.
Oh, that was a fun fight. Anyway.
But yeah, so, obviously, Ender, from the very beginning of the book, has been bullied because he is a third. By children at school, by his own siblings. And finding out that his parents also have very ambiguous feelings. Keep kicking her until you back her to a wall, I think. Yeah. There you go. Okay. There you go.
Didn't want to shoot her.
Cutscene.
I guess you can't do pacifist solely with the Kamado.
Nope. Like, you know the story of the game, so you know why.
Ah, well.
Yeah, you can pull it off with I won't kill any tasing, because the story is structured around that. But, yeah. So yeah, the hegemony is extremely powerful to the point where everybody knows. And everybody knows that, like, if you don't comply, there's something wrong with you, and you might be on the side of the aliens. You don't like humanity, do you? But, yeah. It's a really awkward society and very strange because it doesn't seem like that much has changed on the surface. It's like they still have school. There's more high tech than usual, but there's still normal school. There's still normal families mostly. But it's only when you get into these conversations with like Ender and Graf that you really start to see here's how deep it goes and how mixed feelings are about it. And there are still places that are not fully compliant. And throughout the book, you get to see conversations between the military higher-ups that are making sure they're appeasing the powerful countries that don't necessarily agree with them, and how to spin things to make sure that they don't have further issues, etc., etc. So there's a whole lot going on here.
Oh, it's another one of you.
I like that it says if you have your strength maxed out, you can kick them. Because I've never done that. I've never gone for a strength run.
I'm kind of tempted to now.
Better level up, though. You're a little bit behind, it looks like.
But anyway, you were saying.
So, there's also an intense level of surveillance on people. Like, they were able to easily track down who the Loch Demosthenes are, but also there's just the whole monitor that the whole story, honestly, started with. It's basically just a monitoring device that is implanted into the back of Ender's neck and can read his emotions. Do you have your Velocithor? That's the 8. Hit 8 twice. Hit it again. There you go. Shoot the orb. I think you have to come back later for that for it to get to the supercharge.
You can't shoot these things.
Not really. Lots of goodies, though. Levels! Well, not a level, but close. So, yeah. This thing, when implanted under, they can basically see through his eyes and also read his emotional state. They could also see it through Valentine and Peter, which is how Graf knew exactly the right buttons to push to get Ender to agree with him. Which is great to hear. But, yeah, and I'm not sure if the Hegemon is an elected position. I'm not sure it's ever explicitly said, but we do know that through the Loch and Demosthenes gambit, Peter does gain enough public support that he does become the Hegemon at the end of the book. Which makes you wonder how Earth turned out under Peter's leadership, because, oh boy, Peter is a monster. But remember, this is also a highly militaristic situation, where the army basically gets a pass on what they do to Ender because it's for the greater good. Hi,
oh boy, it's him again.
Yeah, I don't think he'll let you use the nuke, so you better have enough buster gun ammo, because he doesn't defend against that.
I just read the note, yeah.
Obviously, that dialogue changes if you're doing a pacifist run. I don't remember what it says. It's been a bit. But yeah, because of the constant threat of the alien invasion, the military has effectively a blank check to do whatever they need with their battle school situation, because it will keep Earth safe and make sure we don't have to deal with being taken out of existence entirely. Yeah, you're not doing so great.
I'm trying, it won't let me.
Aren't you glad it tells you where safe is? I think you're jumping too early is the thing with that, or too late maybe, I don't know. Oh, wow, yeah. There's so much beam spam with Asha.
What's the other weapon he told me to use?
The buster gun?
Which one
I think
is
it's
that?
1 again. I think it's under 1. Yeah, it uses your shotgun ammo. Well, your machine gun ammo. But it's a little more powerful than the shotgun. There you go, got the timing now. But, yeah, so we get to see them justifying all these, effectively, war crimes, and just crimes against civilians, etc., etc. Because think of how they treat Malatine to get Ender to be compliant. Think of probably the blackmail potential they have over the entire Wigan family because of the situation that they have with Ender. And no consequences are faced for it. They're basically rewarded for everything they've done. Which makes you wonder how much of that society is going to change as a result of the war being over now. How things are going to change because there's no longer the outside unifying threat to warrant that blank check.
Well, we do know that the hegemony remains intact.
Makes you wonder, though, if it becomes more unified, because at the start, as we said, there were still non-complying nations, Poland being specifically listed because it's the one connected to the Wigan family.
I believe there was a passing mention that as the hegemon, Peter basically fully unified things.
Which makes you wonder how much of that is a euphemism, because, oh, you need that health badly. Okay, you're in much better shape now.
This is going to come down to the wire.
Yeah, so it makes you wonder how much of that Peter unified all of the... There you go, you win. The entire planet was because he just won them over, or he won over most of them and sent out death squads for the rest because he doesn't care. So yeah, Asha is unique among the assassins in that he hates you so much he refused to teleport away.
Hey, passageway is open.
So, yep, I think we are getting very close to final boss zone. You need to get back up there, though. I'm not sure how you get back up there. I think you go back down. But you can level something up, though. I'd go with health.
Reading my mind.
Yeah.
Hey, save point!
Yeah, I think you're actually really behind on your leveling, because you get 5 levels per sector, and you're on sector 10, and you're at 44. So you could honestly go around and scoop up a lot of nano if you wanted.
Yeah, I think I missed out on a lot since I haven't been killing any Kamado. But apparently they are not interested in playing nice, so I'm gonna stop playing nice.
Yep. But, yeah. So, I'm not really sure what else to say here. I'm sure you have thoughts on the whole hegemony situation.
So, the hegemon is basically just a fancy term, more sci-fi term, for something that exists in almost every sci-fi / fantasy environment, and that's the Empire. There is always a powerful centralized government of some sort that is usually malevolent, usually has iron-fisted control over their territories. And usually is not, is either not affiliated with the protagonists, or the protagonists do not wish to be affiliated with it. Can't go that way. This particular story kind of straddles the line on both of those. In that, Ender and his family are obviously part of the hegemony, and Ender is, in a lot of ways, unable to decide if he wants to be part of the hegemony or not. In one part because he's too young, and in one part because he doesn't, you know, have the ability to not choose until very, very late in the story. At which point he basically just turns his back on the whole thing.
Yep. So flipping through, I did find at the end when they're talking about how Graf basically gets off of his court-martial, planning to go into the to be the new Minister of Colonization. As soon as we get the reports back on the bugger colony worlds, I mean, there they are, already fertile with housing and industry in place, and all the buggers dead, very convenient. We'll repeal population limitation laws, which everybody hates. So that's one change that comes as a result of this, and I wonder if they're using Ender as like a poster boy for that, because look what this third did. Would probably be a pretty easy slogan to do.
I was about to say, I can pretty much guarantee that's probably the case. That just seems like something they'd do.
But yeah, and as mentioned before, I do not understand why they had the population limitation laws in place if they're fighting a war, because that seems extraordinarily counterintuitive to keeping a ready army to hand, but I don't know. Sci-fi gonna sci-fi, and sometimes the world building is better than others.
I want to say that I had an idea of why that would be when you last asked, but now I can't remember what it was.
I wonder if it's a critique of the two-child policy that was a thing in China for ages.
Oh, I guarantee it probably, at very least, was partially inspired by that in theme.
Sorry, one child I think it was. I don't know where it was to.
Because it became two, I think, at one point. Also
I'm not especially versed on the yeah.
I'm going off of vague memory and such, so I could fully, completely be wrong.
Yeah, the term hegemony just refers to leadership or dominance, especially by one country or social group over others. So, in the case of Ender's Game, I'm not sure it's made especially clear if there is any one country that has dominance over another, given that the Wiggins, basically our primary viewpoint characters are American, and I think a lot of the military we run into are also American. It could imply that, but it could be a coincidence, it could be an international coalition. It's hard to say because we get most of our perspective on the hegemony from Ender, who doesn't think about it too that much.
Yep, it's just how things are.
Yep.
And that's kind of the thing that is the most advantageous to any tyrannical system, is to make their system the default in the mind of anyone who wins. Because if it's normal to you, you don't ask questions. It's just how things are. I'm really good at suicide bombing myself in this game. So, Ender never thinks twice about the hegemony. Wow, I cannot talk. Because it's what has been his entire life, and he doesn't ever consider that anyone would think differently or want the arrangement changed, really until Graf points out that both of his parents grew up outside of it and have parts of the system that they resent. Let's go down the hole. Wow, they just tear through my health.
Yep. Yeah, so the hegemony benefiting from just general, we don't know a better system because we've only been raised in this one, kind of ties in with what we discussed before, which is ignorance of anything different is a useful tool to people who need it to be.
Yep. People who benefit from the status quo have take advantage.
You might just want to run on this one.
Yeah, I'm working on it. people to whom the status quo is advantageous benefit from nobody questioning the status quo. And it's that way in real life, to a sincere degree. A lot of what we see in politics is just the understanding of how far from the status quo do we want to drift, and different parties reacting to that in different ways. And oh, sweet. Which way? This way. So different people and different parties and different groups reacting to the idea of shifting how much away from the status quo and in which direction. Awesome. That's going to be very helpful. Anyway, you see where I was going. I'm getting to the point where I'm getting to repeat myself because I keep getting interrupted.
Yep. Danger of gaming and discussing things at the same time. It's the nature. It's the problem that we have with the system we created for ourselves. But yeah, I'm not really sure I have much else to add here.
Honestly, the only thing I can think of is the one thing that you have to ask is if Ender disdained the system so much, and it was clearly such a problem for him, why didn't he endeavor to change it more? Did he feel that he couldn't? Did he feel that even him, a war hero, a colonial governor, that was weird.
Possibly. Yeah, there would be a logbook there in the pacifist run. But yeah, we are getting right up to the boss, so,
But yeah. Just,
yeah.
Did Ender really hate the hegemony, or did he hate just the parts of the hegemony that he couldn't take advantage of, and that were not built to his benefit?
Also, fair to remember, Ender is a child for most of the story, and even as he grows up, he's away from Earth, so things are very different.
Yeah.
So it's kind of difficult to really say for sure, because it was not the focus of the story. Oftentimes you will have stories about, like, young protagonists who do realize that there's something broken in the system. Huck Finn's a good one for that. But it is the focus of the story and a recurring theme throughout everything, where it is not an Ender's Game. It is something that can be examined if somebody really wants to dig into it, but the story itself doesn't. But I think that's really all I can say on the matter, which frees us up to head off to fight General Tor and finish off this series.
And if we ever feel like coming back to this series and looking at any of the Ender sequels, which I'm not sure we ever will, they're obviously not nearly as famous as the original, and honestly, there's a lot of problems with the series as a whole that we would have to look over and end up repeating ourselves a little bit. But we'll get into that next episode.
Till then, bye.
See ya.